just like the messiness of figuring it all out.
Yeah.
So what I actually have, this is like some sort of dusting thing that I found in my friend's closet.
Yeah.
That's going to serve as our wind protector.
Yeah.
And a little bracelet.
Yeah, and I have a couple sites that we could use that are like kind of nearby.
Okay.
So there's a couple cool places nearby that we could use.
Great.
But yeah, I'd love to grab a coffee. There's also a place nearby that has really good decaf espresso that they chuck lavender in it too.
Amazing.
Which is pretty nice and not too expensive.
Welcome to Walking Radio, a podcast dedicated to amplifying the voices of people on the front lines, those most affected by decisions made far from their reality. This is a space where lived experience takes center stage, where stories are shared on their own terms, and where conversation happens in motion, sometimes literally, walking and talking. For the foreseeable future, Walking Radio will focus on the planned closure of supervised consumption and harm reduction sites across Ontario. These spaces save lives. Their loss will be felt hardest by the most vulnerable among us, people who are our friends, neighbors, and loved ones. Through interviews that are trauma-informed and rooted in full consent, we'll hear from workers, healthcare professionals, and those whose lives hang in the balance. In our first episode, we heard from nurses whose professional, academic, and personal lives are deeply shaped by the toxic drug supply crisis. In this, our second episode, we turn our focus to another expert, someone whose extraordinary generosity in sharing their insights has been a profound honor to receive. Rone is a resident of Guelph, Ontario. She uses the consumption and treatment service in that city's downtown as a central resource in managing her complex medical and pain management needs. I was fortunate enough to cross paths with Rone purely by happenstance on Saturday, March 22nd, 2025. We ended up spending the day walking and talking around downtown Guelph and later shared dinner together. We met again on Friday, March 28th to continue the conversation. This episode offers an interwoven audio journey of our time together and of the space we held in this moment of historical importance.
Clink. Yep. Should we do a clap for
walk together and see what pathways to better understanding we find along the way.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'm Patrick Corvin.
You don't even really need
and this
an elaborate introduction.
Is Walking Radio.
But if you want to give a little background about yourself, that's great. If you don't, that's great too.
So my name's Rone. I'm 32 years old. Butch-presenting trans woman, chronically ill, multiply ill, kind of multiply disabled. Just got out of the hospital with the month and a half long serious migraine, neuro issues, autoimmune condition, specifically ankylosing spondylitis, on low dose chemotherapy for it. Neurodivergent. I use a mobility aid to get around, different ones depending on the day. Today's a pretty good day, so walker, cane. Has some vision issues from time to time, which is kind of new to me, still getting used to that. But thankfully, mental health has been really, really good the last 4 or 5 years, which is an absolute blessing. And have some really, really good people in my life as well the last few years. So that's kind of what my life is like. Work history-wise, I've been a little all over the place. I at first studied classical music, and then I had a few different industrial jobs, everything from industrial, like factory, like parts to like industrial heating, air conditioning type parts to eventually working in aviation, to military aviation, to touching in medicine a tiny bit on the aviation side, back to military aviation, and then being a caretaker to my partner for many years. And life got rough for a bit, life got better, and kind of been taking care of my own health since. And I guess that's how I would introduce myself. I don't know if I forgot anything in our conversations introducing myself, but
That's awesome.
yeah.
And that kind of leads us to how we crossed paths. Do you want to kind of retell the story of how we bumped into each other last Saturday?
So yeah, last Saturday, I wasn't having a very good day. is an easy way to put it.
Do you happen to have a bus?
I
do. Yeah, because that's just the number 3. It's a short walk, but it's also just the number 3 if you'd prefer that.
Sure. Well, I'm happy to walk.
Okay.
I mean, it's walking radio.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm down. It's a beautiful day. I got the darker glasses on.
Yeah.
Just in case. I've kind of become a bit of a stereotype, but I love it. The trucker hat, the mullet, the pit vipers. Like, I got chewing tobacco in my pocket if you want to fill the image. It's unfortunately not Skull, but
Right.
I'd love to grab a coffee and go for a walk and shoot the shit. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. But, one of the most important things is, like, these guys just helped me administer my chemo, and I just did a quarter of my regular dose, and I'm probably going to be sober in a week,
Yeah, and by these guys, just to paint the scene.
Yeah, we're standing outside of consumption and treatment services. And I'm sitting, Pat's standing.
I'm now sitting.
I'm in a wheelchair, but I'm probably going to be sober in a week, so this is beautiful.
And I don't think we've even mentioned what city we're in yet.
Yeah, we're in Guelph. We're in Guelph, yeah. So
we're outside the Guelph Community Health Centre at, there's it's a confusing intersection here. It's like, you've got Cardigan, Woolwich, Aramasa, Wyndham. Guelph is a very non-linear city.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll.
Brakes off, wheels up.
Yeah.
All right, you mind giving me a bit of a push there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
I had recently gotten out of the hospital at the beginning of March,
this guy doesn't fly hands
and
off.
last Saturday would have placed us, I guess, around the 22nd of March, something like that. And we'll get back to why I know that's roughly the 22nd later. And
Double check that.
yeah,
You were right, 22nd.
yeah, that's what I thought, because I can remember the box that's like on my mirror in my room. But I got out of the hospital around, sometime around like March 3rd or 5th or 4th after, a really kind of traumatizing admission for some neuro stuff. And, being a kind of like not average presenting trans woman, it didn't go very well. And I realized I'd missed my like weekly chemo shots for like the ankylosing spondylitis I deal with, like the methotrexate, for about 2 weeks. And about 2 weeks. And the headache had just gone away, like the absolutely terrible migraine had just gone away the Thursday before. And I knew there was a chance it could get really, really bad again, because it usually comes with like a very, very bad, kind of like gas station, like tequila hangover feeling for me. So I went down to my like local town's CTS to take it with supervision and be able to take some, some pain meds, but a bit stronger than my prescribed ones with supervision.
And CTS stands for?
Consumption and Treatment Services, which we're losing on March 31st.
What the current situation is with the supervised consumption sites?
Well, we've got the worst April Fool's joke in the world right now. It's closing on April 1st. And I'm terrified. I've, got a little bit of medical experience, and I've, stocked up on, Narcan for people I love. I just left with like a pupil, dilation gauge, I have so much IM Narcan and nasal kits at home. I'm handing them out to people I trust to use them. I am terrified. But also, this has always been a place for me that has been, being chronically ill has been a diversion from the emergency department.
Yeah.
So I have a long-standing diagnosis of cyclic vomiting syndrome. So migraines that present with, very, very deep retching 3 times a minute. So I could show up with my rescue meds and, take them and be treated with, compassion and not, oh, did you smoke so much weed that you're greening out? It's like, no, I just have a migraine condition that does this. And, be handed a vomit bag and a place to lay down once it was over, instead of being left in a waiting room alone. Sometimes someone would even read to me. And, other clients would, just sit with me and, maybe rub my back or just be kind.
Yeah.
Not something I would experience in an emergency department. And, consumption and treatment services connected me with counseling and, was, not a place that I went to consume substances till my most very, very recent hospital admission. It was a place I went to avoid the emergency department.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people don't realize about this place. And that was a possibility of it. And today I came because I have a migraine and I have some meds that could have made it much worse, and I wanted to take them with supervision, and was able to do that in a supportive environment. And I was scared, and I had people to see me through it. And next time I have to take them, I might not have that. So, that's the evil service that we're losing. Anybody who, experiences migraines and has to take, even low-dose chemotherapy, alone, could have come to, absolutely. Anybody who experiences, migraines and has to take medications that makes them worse could have gone to a safe consumption site to take their meds and have supervision and, be seen through it. And found, community, and, it's not a scary place. And we're losing that. And that's a shame. I'm sorry that our system has failed all of us this way. I'm sorry that our efforts weren't enough. But we're gonna keep trying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which direction?
Where were you thinking for coffee? Even if you want to grab one to walk with, as long as it's decaf, I'm good.
Do you want to go to Planet B?
Yeah, that's great, actually.
Which is absolutely terrifying. And I wanted to do this with medical supervision in case the migraine was launched again. And I was really scared. So, I had, given myself the chemotherapy, and I had some, pain meds from a friend that were a bit stronger than my discharge prescription with me, just in case. And, I turned out to not be in the best shape, but be pretty okay. And, it was, the compassion, the, sitting with me, the, like, reading to me to keep me distracted, the, like, and it wasn't just the staff, it was other clients too, and like, I don't know of another healthcare space with that kind of compassion, I've been in and out, mostly of alcoholism, like my whole adult life, and in and out of what, a lot of people would consider scary circles. And, they're really not necessarily scary people once you sit down and talk to them. They're generally, sick and underserved and just undercared for and just hurt. And generally I find people who are hurt are the most ready to care. And sorry, I got a little sidetracked there.
You're on exactly you're on exactly the right track.
Yeah, I got a little sidetracked, but
please stay on that track.
I didn't feel like
okay,
or anything.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to guide me a little bit so I'm not rambling too much. But,
No, ramble away, because honestly, like, all I would be doing is just guiding it slightly. You're doing amazing. Just keep it conversational, keep it messy too. Like,
no, I want it to be messy.
Yeah.
I want it to be honest. Like,
and if there's anything you say that you regret after, we just kind of...
We'll talk it over, and we'll go through it together, and I'd love to debrief it in a couple days too,
Absolutely, Here for, like, before, during, and after is all really important. And you'll have full
I trust you.
You'll have full say on the final cut. Okay.
But basically, towards the street before City Hall, if we take a right and then go down, where Guelph Music is?
Carden?
Carden, so down there's a tiny, like, espresso place that has really good decaf.
Sweet.
And it's like decaf espresso, but they'll chuck lavender in it.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah. Here, let me. I can hit the button with the cane if you want.
Oh.
Yeah, actually no, it's got the wavy guy on it, but
it's always been a place where if I've been
there we
go. Being someone who's had to lived a very stressful life and has a bit of the marks of alcoholism and stress on my face, like, if I present to the emergency department, I'm kind of ignored for 9 or 10 hours, and like consumption and treatment services is somewhere that I can go for a minor medical emergency and actually receive medical attention and not even use drugs. It's just like a walk-in where I can be seen almost. It just, I know most people don't realize that, but it's really scary to lose. Like, my access to medical care is about to change quite a bit. For non-extremely urgent issues, things are going to be a little different now. And I'm going to have to do some planning as to what to do to take care of myself, and like, what am I going to take care of at home? Like, how am I going to, like, yeah.
Are you comfortable talking about, it feels like you're facing at least a double whammy right now, the loss of the...
Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good. If you want to, like, perfect. Yeah, I'd take the wheelie bars off of it because of how accessible this city is. Otherwise, I can't make most of the curb cuts. Yeah.
A few laws written about this sort of thing.
Yeah. No, it's super accessible. Yeah.
For listeners who can't detect the irony in your voice,
yeah,
it's very difficult to navigate some of these things on the wheelchair.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for a little bit of history, in 2017, I lost my housing. I'm a trans woman, and I was homeless in Kingston for roughly July to October. So being a trans woman in a town surrounded by penitentiaries is not easy. You know, it wasn't easy. So, you know, to survive, addiction came with it. You know, it just came with it. If we go straight again, and as soon as I got housed, I kind of figured my stuff out. And, you know, as far as opioids were concerned, I never really touched them again. And alcohol was an issue on and off over the years. But never a serious danger, but it was an issue on and off. There were maybe a couple times where outside of a clinic, there were 2 times, thinking back, like to be very specific, where I touched opioids outside of a clinical environment in crisis over the years. Once in 2018 and once in 2021 during the pandemic. But in crisis and never again. And in February, we got some background music here for a second. Yeah, so if we take, actually let's go right down to Carden. Yeah, so, and then in 2021 in crisis, I was drinking and I took some opioids without thinking, and dynamited my relationships with absolutely everyone in my life that I loved, and did not touch them again, and did not repair those relationships with anyone in my life till pretty much a year to this day, actually.
Oh, really?
It was March 2024 that I reached out to my family again. So it's quite an emotional time to be going through this. But I dynamited the relationships with everyone. March 2023, pardon. And March 2024 that I reached out to everyone.
Oh, so we're 2 years ago now.
Yeah. And, because we're 22. I just got out of the hospital for reference. March... I absolutely just dynamited everything, and reached out to everyone in like about a year ago, and it's been beautiful. And just rebuilding trust, rebuilding relationship with my family and some close friends that I just absolutely dynamited that night. I don't remember what I said, but I know in my heart and spirit that I said what I knew would be the most hurtful thing to each individual person that night. And I can never take that back. Right. All I can do is do my best to just rebuild relationship and rebuild trust. And it's been, pardon?
What do you think brought that on, the dynamiting?
I was just in a bad place. I was mad at the world. Oh, we got a protest going on here. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. We need this.
So my main healthcare practitioner is closing their practice at the end of April as well, and I have a couple of options to go to, but being a rather complex medical case, it's going to be difficult to find adequate healthcare that I can be seen and then also seen with compassion, and not with, kind of exhaustion or bitterness and dismissiveness or it was, it was a place where, there were times where, I would just show up to the reception area with the book sometimes, when I just didn't want to be alone when I felt really sick. I would just show up with the book because I didn't want to be alone.
Yeah.
Because, the people who go there know what it's like to hurt. And not everybody knows that. They know what it's like to be alone. They know what it's like to hurt. They know what it's like to be let down. So...
Yeah, I think that's something that's lost in the conversation too a lot. Is not just the medical services, the strictly clinical services that the sites offer, but also the connection and the community, which we know to be such vitally important protective factors for people in vulnerable positions.
Yeah. It's the conversation, it's the understanding looks, it's the... Yeah.
You brought up the phrase a couple times now, being seen, which is kind of a term that we use offhandedly in the medical system, the doctor can see you now. But when you were saying it, it struck me that there's a deeper meaning to that as well, of actually being seen, being heard.
Yeah. It's one thing for somebody to say oh, I see that x-ray, I understand that must hurt, because they have an understanding of oh, I see this detail and it must be painful. And it's another understanding for somebody to see that limp and have that same limp and know what it feels like to get up after not having moved for 6 hours and have to walk off that limp for it to loosen up and for the pain to come down a little bit. There's the oh, I get it because I've read about it, and there's the oh, I get it because this is my life. It's very different.
Yeah. Makes me wonder, how do we, because of course we don't want to invite suffering on others needlessly, it's how do we help people get it who don't currently get it?
I just for a little levity,
Yeah,
I really love that video of the ladies with the TENS machine at the Calgary Stampede, showing what period cramps are like to the RCMP cops.
Oh, I haven't seen that, but
that's
similar.
a good one. Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, I wonder if there's something
one.
we could do that for like fentanyl withdrawal.
Oh, yeah,
Hook someone up,
yeah. Oh.
give them like 30 seconds. You're like, okay, yeah, let's keep the sites open.
Yeah.
So there's a coffee place just up here. Yeah. So yeah, it's just the place with the open sign there under Guelph, Canada.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Here, I can wheel myself if you need the help.
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah. So in here, yeah. Shit, I don't have cash though.
Oh, cash. Okay, I've got cash.
Yeah, they usually have debit, but
Thank you.
yeah. And then I believe we're still in Ramadan right.
But yeah, no, this big like burly cop is, she's like, yeah, no, mine are about like a 9, and she's got him up to like a 5, and he's like, yeah, no more. And she's like, yeah, I've checked this machine on myself. Like my cramps are about a 9 for 3 days, and she's got him up to a 5, and he's like crying that he can't handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's at the booth of the Calgary Stampede, and she's like selling like hot packs and stuff. Like, yeah.
It does bring up like the interesting theme that's come up in our conversations before about how gender intersects with this whole thing. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
For me personally, like, I really enjoy kind of walking between worlds. Like if somebody wants to come up to me and call me young man and have a beautiful conversation based in trust and love, it's an honor. It's an honor. It's an absolute joy and a pleasure. Because it's completely wrapped in good intentions, and there's no harm. There's no ill meaning. And a lot of medical professionals actually have an issue with me not having an issue with that, which is really strange to me. It's like somebody did something nice and you don't have a problem with that? It's like, no, I don't. It's like the coldness. Like,
do we need to?
But I love that I get to kind of walk between both worlds and kind of hear everything, and like that's kind of the beauty of having this this appearance and these experiences, is that like a lot of people feel comfortable around me, but it also means that I have to have very strong boundaries to stay like healthy physically and mentally. And that's okay. It's taken years of work to get here. But it's a beautiful thing. And like I really wouldn't live my life like any other way. And like if somebody needs to view me one way to be comfortable, that really isn't upsetting to me. Because like at the end of the day, I know who I am. I'm comfortable with it, and like that's what matters to me. And if like if people are happy and I'm happy, like who's hurting? Who's hurting? If I'm happy and people are happy, like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep thinking recently about the concept of like the converse of what you're describing is the concept of people needlessly introducing suffering into the world.
No.
Which I feel is kind of at the core of this push to close supervised consumption sites and treatment sites. And it's almost potentially connected to gender in the way of like this aspiration to a kind of cruel brand of masculinity.
Yeah.
That is like a callousness towards human suffering.
It's in like intersectionality is very real, and I'm kind of like we could probably for like, you know, for reference, I have like a yellow notepad on my lap that I'm like keeping track of a few things on, but you know, there's many, like intersectionality wise, like there's many things that I fall into, and like but like my last hospital admission, just people going, there was a couple of things where people were just going out of their way to be hurtful. And it was just absolutely unnecessary. And you know, and then politically too, people going out of their way to be hurtful. Like you know, there's certain politicians that like I have interacted with at rallies 10 years ago who had no problem calling me miss 10 years ago when I looked much less feminine than I do now. Right. That I have heard go on transphobic rants in Kitchener not long ago. So it's just, I don't really know what's going on. Yeah. And then, you know, watching this hatred and like the closure of CTS and just all of it. And like, I've had to cut myself off of the news to just, you know, bring stress levels down, to kind of heal after this like hospital admission, and just in general, because it's too much. Like I'm really tired of watching my right to exist be debated every night at like 6 and 11 p.m., you know, be it on TV or at the top of the hour on the CBC every hour on the radio, when I've dedicated, you know, pretty much all of my free time since I've stopped working to peer support. So it's really, really difficult to hear my right to exist be debated. It's really difficult.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because it's not just about, it's like, up until recently it was about like the right to be who you are inherently, but now we're on the precipice of like, we're literally talking about existence itself, where it feels like on the trajectory, we are on the cusp of a mass fatality event that is engineered, implemented, endorsed by the government. Do you think that this is a moment before a crime against humanity?
I unfortunately think it might be. I mean, you know, looking at certain historical events, it might be. I hope it's not. I pray it's not. I pray it's not, Pat. I pray it's not. I do everything I can to make sure it's not. Yeah. Okay. Where were we?
We were about to go down the path of hope.
Yeah.
We don't have to go there now.
Oh, I'd like to. I'd like to.
Yeah.
I'd like to, though.
I sure would like the whole world to.
Yeah, I'd like to.
How do we get the world there? To be more compassionate,
I mean, like
to see everyone as
like
worthy of life.
Like,
I think something that gets lost on a lot of people is like So in Guelph, it's called the CTS, Consumption and Treatment Service. What I think a lot of people don't realize is that, including like the place I worked, in many of the consumption sites, they are the central hub for people to access treatment services like methadone.
Yeah. And therapy.
And therapy, and to get referrals to other sources of help.
Family doctors.
Yeah.
Certain specialists, counseling.
Yeah, so...
Like...
And not to mention harm reduction supplies, which are intrinsic, like, which is lost on so much of the public, is that those are there to stop the spread of bloodborne illnesses, to stop the spread of HIV and hepatitis C. And just the loss of that is incredibly unwise from a public health standpoint.
Yeah. So thankfully in Guelph, we are keeping like the harm reduction supplies in Guelph. We do get to keep that. We are keeping some of the treatment services in Guelph. So that is good. As far as I know, like they know they're getting the funding. They don't know if they have it yet. And I'm kind of staying out of that conversation because I'm kind of scared to find out.
That's fair.
But they like, you know, even getting out of the hospital, like connecting me with physio. I normally organize all of this for myself. Guess who organized my physio getting out of the hospital, guys? And again, like, you know, it's like, it's not like I'm taking street substances. It's just I don't have the energy to organize my life or the funds to pay someone to do it right now. Like, this is it for people in poverty. Like, this is it. You know, this is it.
And not to mention the pressure that they take off from emergency departments.
And like the fact that like they are trained to accept that like chronically ill people know their bodies. And like, you know, have, you know, like, it's just the amount of things that like just really, really simple things that I can get there that I can't get in the emergency department, like cold packs or hot packs, like, you know, it's just like,
Yeah, yes, it was a couple of days ago, I was out for a run. It was like in Toronto. I have an apartment in Moss Park, which is quite a hub of activity. There's like a lot of services, like a lot of poverty, a lot of mental health and addictions. And there was an overdose across the street from my apartment, and I went to go help. And that experience alone was such a stark reminder of like what a gong show it can be when just the general public is trying to respond to an overdose on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
Not to mention like the enormous number of emergency personnel that get tied up with that response.
Yeah.
Many of whom, I shouldn't say many, but some who are struggling to like figure it out just as much as the general public. Yeah. And like I've discovered this whole like very inefficient kind of status battle going on too, where it's just like more about people sizing each other up rather than focusing on the person who's about to die without intervention. Whereas in a like supervised consumption, it's all just like run of the, like this is what we do. That's what we're there for. Like, and overdoses can be just reversed very efficiently, very easily, with minimal adverse consequence to the person experiencing the overdose. So in that particular response, there was about 3 cop cars, a fire truck, paramedics. So it was like about a dozen emergency personnel in total when that one overdose event could have been reversed by like 2 harm reduction workers in a supervised consumption site, whilst having all of the EMS services continuing about their business.
Yeah.
Just instinctively check to see where my phone is.
I'm keeping it safe for you, buddy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I got a good seat for it too.
Yes.
Yeah. You felt like I got the cushion from my own and you're like, thanks for taking time to do this. It means a lot to me.
And like there have been in Guelph, I don't remember what the code is, but multiple times where they have had no ambulances, and that's not even because of overdoses, but just because of our aging population. So I really fear for what is going to happen, and like, you know, I don't have the mobility to get out there and help right now, but I had at one point, I have to brush up to do it safely, but I had at one point the knowledge to do it. And like we might have to put teams together to like try and, you know, go through some of the specific places and keep an eye out at different times, and like, because we just don't have the staffing here. And the dispatch is just really weird in our town, and like, not through a fault of their own, they're just not equipped. They're just not equipped yet. They don't have the organization, and they haven't really, it's no fault of their own. It's no fault of their own. They just haven't, I don't think they're equipped yet.
There's this researcher that I interviewed. She's been doing systems level research on mental health, homelessness, and addiction for decades. She was talking about how when you close safe consumption sites, the consumption doesn't stop. It's just that the world now becomes an unsafe consumption site.
Yeah. But again, like, I don't know anybody who, like, any person who uses drugs who isn't hurting or who hasn't been hurt, or both, in terrible ways. So that person doesn't want to hurt someone else. They really don't. So, like,
We took that silly interaction of maybe just being exhausted and just not wanting to deal with the abortion protest next to a cenotaph, like, just not being in the mood to deal with that.
What was the verse again?
I think it was Corinthians 14.
Yeah. Does that carry special significance for you?
I think it's one that like ends up on a lot of posters and stuff, and it's like quoted pretty often. So it's like one that they probably have in their kitchen at home. Like, you know, it's like you know, like my ex's mom had that in the kitchen. Like, you know, so I'm pretty sure it was 14. I'm not a like chapter and verse person,
but as you know, I see this population get forgotten. I am starting to see more, you know, wrappers, more waters, more stuff like that on the sidewalks that I didn't see 2 years ago. I'm starting to see that again.
For those who don't know, those are basic harm reduction supplies used in the preparation for injection.
Yeah. But the actual, like, you know, things that are, you know, used to, like, administer medications or drugs I'm not seeing on sidewalks or in parks at all yet.
Yeah, and another aspect that I think not many members of the public know generally is that like many of the services offered out of the supervised consumption or consumption and treatment sites, they also run robust outreach programs that include sharps pickup and like walking teams that go around and pick up sharps safely, like using tongs and sharps disposal boxes. So what the fate of those teams will be is unclear at this point, but
Yeah.
I was a part of many of those teams. We picked up a lot of stuff that may not get picked up now, which is really the opposite of the intended purpose as stated. But I can't help but wonder, like, is the intended purpose the one that is stated?
I don't know, like when you see saturation in the media with, you know, hatred towards a specific group of people that's really not doing much to harm anyone specifically, when there's so much more hurt happening in the world, it raises questions. It really raises questions. And you know, having been briefly homeless in another town in my lifetime, it was a student town a couple 100 kilometers away. And, you know, I remember, you know, being on the street on like party nights in the student town in the summer and watching other students get creepy with young women. It wasn't police that told young men not to get creepy with young women. And, you know, these other street-involved people weren't engaging in violence to tell these young men to leave these other young women alone. It was just very clear and direct, and a clear message was sent. But it wasn't police keeping people's daughters or nieces safe. It was street-involved people. Because again, these are people that have been hurt. And, you know, it's really easy to demonize people, and seeing this hatred on street-involved people, on, you know, people who use drugs, on, you know, gender diverse people, on queer people, on, you know, immigrants, on, you know, the list goes on. I don't know, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear on people with disabilities, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear.
Highlight the discrepancy, the hypocrisy.
Yeah, it's book of love.
Yeah.
And, you know, like Mary Bergman of the community. Are you familiar?
Tell us.
Are you familiar? Yeah.
But
One of my dream flights is to go leave some berries and a pack of darts on her grave, because I've read her journals. So I want to go north of Thunder Bay and leave some berries and a pack of darts on Mary Bergman's grave marker. And I have a buddy who's going to take me once this is done. So, I'm going to cry. Mary Bergman's a bit of a hero of mine. I actually met a physician who trained under her in the 70s. So Mary Bergman was a nurse in the country in Northern Ontario who was kind of the only medical professional around who just did it all. And the joke was kind of like, if you hadn't been stitched up or had a bone set in Mary's bathroom, did you even live here? And her husband got really upset when the house got designated a first aid spot on the gas station map. The physician that I met who trained under her wrote a paper called At Mrs. B's House, which is beautiful. I can pull it for you later. I could maybe even get your phone number. She works in Toronto. Yeah. So to be, and now the Community Health Centre in that community north of Thunder Bay is the Mary Bergman Community Health Centre.
I often wonder if this
so
is,
you don't
correct me if this is wrong, or if, please feel free to share a different perspective, but I often wonder, is this a form of class warfare? Because, substance use is ingrained throughout our culture. Like, alcohol use is endorsed and promoted by the government, and the government makes money off of it. And the widening of the availability of alcohol has been central to Doug Ford's premiership. But we don't necessarily associate alcohol with exclusively with people from the lowest socioeconomic status. But fentanyl use is disproportionately distributed amongst street involved folks. I know you had an interesting anecdote about the relationship between class and opioid use. Was it your first overdose intervention?
Yeah, that was at a mall in another town. My first overdose intervention was in a food court, and it was a senior lady, and I'm assuming I didn't know pills well at the time. I was part of a Narcan pilot project when it was just the intramuscular that was available, and and I'm assuming before she ate, maybe she meant to take a lactate, maybe she meant to take a Beano, I don't know. And she hit the ground. And it wasn't a very violent overdose. Like, she didn't need compressions, but it was still a recognizable overdose. And this was someone with grandkids in a food court, doing shopping. And, not exactly the image that everybody has. And this would have been 2014. So 11 years ago. And so not exactly everybody's image, but a lot of seniors are kind of overprescribed, and not everybody's really ready to have that conversation yet. But also, I feel like for every senior that's overprescribed, there might be one that's underprescribed, and that's a whole other discussion. But to open another day, maybe, because for every senior that can access healthcare, there's probably 10 that can't.
Right.
So, especially in this province. So,
but I think that really speaks to the complexity of the issue.
Yeah.
Through one lens, you could view it as a class war, but through another lens, it affects all of us. That it really doesn't. The opioid epidemic really transcends boundaries of class and status.
Yeah.
And race and gender.
Yeah. It's just that was my first intervention at a mall, way down, almost near the other end of the 401. And not what I was expecting, when I was asked to be part of this project. And but that's what it was. And I actually heard from some of her family after. It was beautiful. So I hear a lot of hatred in my life, but thankfully from nobody I know directly. And that's one of the things that makes it really easy to stay happy and positive in my life. Yeah.
Is there anything you wish people understood better about this situation?
You're one bad paycheck away from it being you. You're one injury away from it being you. You're one sleep away from waking up with a vision change. You're, one work accident away, You never know what could happen when you're done your lunch break. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but nothing is guaranteed, and love and safety are everything. Compassion is everything. If I was your child, you would want me to have safety.
That feels like a really good place to end on.
I like that. I like that a lot. That was nice. That was really nice. That was good.
Rone, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure, such an honor.
Yeah, that was nice.
I'm just so glad we crossed paths and were able to finally have this conversation.
And a proper ending to it. Yeah.
What was improper about that?
Yeah. All right.
Life is messy.
Fair. Yeah.
Radio should reflect that.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Pat. And of course. Anytime. I'd love to do this again.
Me too.
I have a lot more to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a complex issue. It's a complex universe. We are complex beings in it.
Wonderful.
Yes. Okay.
Perfect.
I saw, Pat kind of just, bit of the, not to rip on you here, but just stereotypical male nurse looking dude. Like, I was like, hey, wheel me over to the sidewalk. I want to rip on these guys.
Yeah, I was more than happy.
Yeah, you seem like, the type that didn't mind stirring the pot a little bit. Like, I saw the mischievous grin when I was like, hey, wheel me over, and I was like, yes. I saw that grin. I was like, okay.
An unexpected turn along our pathway. Just moments after Rone and I finished recording our conversation on March 28th, 2025, the news broke. Quoting from cbc.ca, supervised drug consumption sites win injunction, can stay open for now amid charter challenge. Ontario judge grants injunction to keep 10 sites open as legal challenge considered. Justice John Callahan of the Superior Court of Justice said all sites slated to close under the new law by April 1st can remain open until 30 days after he decides the case. The constitutional issues in this application are complex, Callahan wrote. My decision will require some time. Time. Time is what so many of us have been hoping for. Time to continue caring for one another. Time to continue saving lives. Time to continue advocating. And time, we hope, for the people and the government of Ontario to find more compassion in their hearts. In the meantime, Walking Radio will continue to walk alongside those whom the provincial government of Premier Doug Ford and Health Minister Sylvia Jones have made very clear they do not wish to hear from. If you work on the front lines, or if you access consumption and treatment services, please feel free to share. We'd love to hear from you. please feel free to drop us a line at walkingradio@proton.me. That's walkingradio, all one word, at proton.me. All messages are received in confidence and no stories will ever be shared without consent. Walking Radio is independently produced and does not accept advertising, sponsorship, or donations. To preserve and honor the dignity of our companions, Walking Radio will never monetize our content. Together, we can find new pathways to care and kindness. Thank you for joining us on this walk.